Bobby Borg Consulting with guest Sydney Alston and 6 DIY tips you need to succeed. So hey everybody, by now everybody should know that DIY stands for do it yourself. Or really maybe we should use BYOB, which stands for be your own boss, right? Because that's essentially what it really boils down to. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to, from the top of our heads, talk about just a couple like DIY tips, and we're going to do this really quick. Stuff that, in our experiences, we've just come to know that, are really, really important things. Some of these very, very basic that you should know about. So I'll go ahead and start, and I'll go ahead and start with number 1, which is plan to plan. And so what that basically means, you guys, is I have noticed that a lot of musicians basically just do things and hope that it's going to be successful. But hope is not a strategy, of course, when we're talking about business, right? Hope alone is not a business strategy. So what you need to do is you need to kind of sit down and ask yourself exactly what is it that you're trying to do? What's the vision? Where is that you're trying to go? Because when you know where it is that you want to go, it's easier to map out the directions to get there, right? It's kind of like if you were going to call an Uber, right? And the Uber says, where are you now? And where do you want to go? And you're like, I don't know. The Uber isn't coming, right? So planning helps you to sit down, and when you take ideas from your head and put it on paper, it really helps you to see things differently. As they say, if it's not on paper, it's only vapor, right? It helps you to think about where you're going, what you need to do, how things are connected, and you should be making decisions based on insights, not just on guesswork, right? Because you can keep on guessing and guessing. 1 minute you're 20, and now you're 30. Time goes fast, so you don't have any time to waste. So plan to plan, all right? So I'll throw it over to your way real quick.
You got to set goals. Setting a goal, a realistic goal. So if your goal is to play Madison Square Garden, you can do it. But can you afford the billboards that you're going to have to make? So the realistic planning, what can I do and what can I afford to accomplish?
Right.
That's really important. So as you know what you really want, now how do you get there? And that's kind of setting goals.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's a perfect dovetail, by the way, from the one I talked about, right? Because you have to plan, and creating goals is a very, very important part of that plan. And if your goals are very specific, right, and roadmap, so to speak, right, very, very important. All right, so I'll go ahead and take the next one. Measuring. So if you're not measuring, you're not marketing. This is very, very important because a lot of people will plan, then they'll set goals, and then they'll start doing stuff, right? And after a while, they're like, well, we're doing all the right stuff, Sydney and Bobby, but like, nothing seems to be happening. And I'm going, well, how do you know you're doing the right stuff, right? And that's where measuring comes in. Because again, if you're not measuring, you're not marketing. You need to do things, and then you need to look at whether or not those things are working. Now, in this day and age with analytics, I think a lot more artists are savvy to this, at least on social media. They're checking to see where they're getting views and when they're getting views and things like that. But definitely, certainly this could be applied across the board to all your marketing strategies. I'm going to give you guys a really, really quick example. A student came to me and was upset that he was not getting more people to come to his shows. So I said, how are you marketing yourself? And he said, well, I send out my email list, for one. And I go, great, are you using any service? And he said, yeah, I'm using MailChimp, which is a email service. So I said, check your analytics in there because you can see how many people actually open your emails, right? So out of a list of 438 people, only 3 people opened his email, all right? So I said, let me see the email, okay? The subject line of the email was yo, yo. You know what I'm saying? And then the body of the email was yo, come to the show, you guys, it's going to be hip or something like that. And it was just there was nothing really to it. So what we did is I said, dude, you've got to come up with a catchier subject line. You need to come up with something that sells the benefits in your email body, kind of make people feel like they need to come to this. He rewrote the email, sent that out on his next gig, and now 98 people opened it. So if we didn't measure it and we didn't talk about this, he would be writing yo emails for the next 10 years, right? So important subject.
Dovetail into that is being flexible, right? Because you know, once you take this measurement, like you said, you know, I know a guy or a group, they thought that their music was going to appeal to young people and kids, and they were going to have this, but really it was 30-year-olds that liked their music. Right. And they refused to pivot. So their crowd never grew, and it just never went anywhere. And something's got to change. So the flexibility is either now we're going to market to this other group of people who like our music, or we're going to change the music that we're doing to appeal to these younger people.
Right, exactly. Because if you're measuring and then just not doing anything about it, you have to adjust, which could potentially mean you're hitting the wrong audience, right?
It could, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Let's move on to another one. And really, this is pretty much your idea, but I'm going to get you started because it was what we had talked about outside. You know, one of the things that people are doing in this day and age, it's, you know, more like I want like 100,000 Instagram followers. I want like, 100,000, streams or whatever the case might be. Even if those are paid and even times fake platforms, so they're not real fans. And you said something really interesting to me, which is if you have a sort of a fan base following of like 50,000 fake fans, essentially, when you actually do any advertising, now it's going to cost you more to reach all of those fake fans. So in essence, it would be better off having fewer fans, right, that actually are real fans than it would be just, hundreds of thousands of fake ones, right? Of course. I mean, it sounds like no kidding, but you'd be surprised, right?
Well, it's mainly because, your fans are the ones who show up. They're the ones who buy your tickets.
Right.
The more fans you have, the more money you make. So therefore, the more you can spend on advertising. Right. Right. So if you have 50,000 fans on Instagram that are not real, and maybe you only really have 3,000 fans, you're spending what it would cost to reach 50,000 people just to get to that 3,000. Right. And that's really not effective in any way, shape, or form, because you're wasting your money. Right. Not to mention the fact that people are going to look at your pages and see that this is not real. No one's responding or commenting, or the comments that you're getting just look wrong. Suspicious. It's like, I don't know about this. Right. And you lose credibility. So if you're trying to get credibility by having like 100,000 Instagram followers, look, dude, I got 100,000 Instagram followers, and then somebody goes and looks at your page and realizes that looks phony. Right. You lose credibility.
Right. And you also said something interesting as well, which was basically like, potentially your accounts can get closed down. Instagram might all of a sudden swipe all of the fans that you have if they see that they're fake platforms. So 1 minute I'm looking at your account and there's 100,000 fans, and now there's only 4,000, So it's probably not a good idea, right, to get involved in that kind of activity.
YouTube will do that immediately. So you'll see it happen immediately. Like you'll buy your 50,000 fans, and then 2 days later you'll have 10,000.
Yeah.
And then the next day you'll have 9,000 fans. I mean, they do it instantly. With actual paid people who pay you, like Spotify and Apple Music, if you do that, they'll take you off and ban you from the platform. So you'll lose your opportunity to really be able to sell on the biggest selling platforms. Right. You have to change your name and change your email address, change your company, everything that you've worked for because you tried to cheat.
Man, it's just a lot of work. So, another tip would just be, don't buy into the fantasy of the music industry, and just realize that it's a lot of work, and just really love what you do. So you're passionate about it, because when you love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life, essentially. You'll be willing to put up with BS because at least you love what you do. So you'll be willing to deal with the downs. You'll be willing to deal with the ups, of course. So, you got to be in this for the long haul. One of the things that I notice artists is they just want to it's just quick success. They're just focused. I want to be huge now, yesterday someone came in and asked me, I just want to know how to build my following, how to get lots of people to love me. And I'm like, so how many songs do you have? Well, I don't even have one song recorded. And I'm like, Jesus, are you putting the cart before the horse maybe, So All right. Anyway, thanks very much. We can go on forever. Yeah, we can go on forever.
You've just watched Bobby Borg Consulting and 6 DIY tips you need to succeed. Similar tips are available in my books, Music Marketing for the DIY Musician and Business Basics for Musicians, available on Amazon, or you can go to my website at bobbyborg.com and download the first chapters for free. If you have any thoughts or comments, please leave them in the discussions. We want to know what your DIY tips are. And also, I recommend that you check out these other videos that will help you turn your art into a more successful business. Bobby Borg Consulting, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the next clip. Peace.